Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus versus iPhone 16 Plus. Which to buy here? Which is the better option here between these two phones for you? That is the aim of today's video. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and let's get right into the price tags. To begin with, the Galaxy S25 Plus actually comes in a little bit more at $999, and then it's going to go up from there for a higher storage tier. The iPhone 16 Plus comes in at $899, but it's more like $929 if you're not getting a carrier contract, and this phone does go up from there. So the 16 Plus starts a bit cheaper, but it also starts with less storage at 128 gigs versus that one starting at 256 gigs. So if I go over here, you'll see if I go to my iPhone storage, where is it at? Right there, 128 gigs. So that's one of the reasons why this one is a little bit less to start, because if you do go up, you are going to be closer to the same price. So generally they're around the same price, but if you want to be technical, you can get the 16 Plus a little bit cheaper. Now moving on to the area of build and design, I will say that the S25 definitely has the lighter design. We're looking at 190 grams or 6.7 ounces, and this thing just feels thinner. It feels like a sleeker, lighter, thinner phone. It's 7.3 millimeters thick, which is razor thin, not quite Galaxy Edge thin, but it's still pretty thin. Also, you'll see right here, we do have ourselves a triple camera setup versus a 2-camera setup on the iPhone. And it is an aluminum shell, so that makes it very lightweight. Although, because it's so thin and lightweight, I found this phone a little bit easier to drop than some of the thicker phones. But it's a worthy trade-off because I could just slap a very thin case on here and never really drop it as long as that case has some grip. We do have ourselves a USB-C at the bottom, SIM card tray available, pretty loud speaker as well. And that USB-C port can go to DeX microphone holes there. Overall, pretty clean design. We do have ourselves power button, volume rockers, and then on the left, I do see a antenna right there. So that's a little bit less clean. But overall, you can see the Samsung logo right here. This is the silver shadow color. There's multiple colors you can get this in. Overall, it's a pretty sleek and thin device. You'll also see pretty razor thin bezels there. Now, for the iPhone 16 Plus, it does feel a little bit more girthy, a little bit more bulky, if you will. It is 7.8 millimeters thick. It weighs 10 grams more, and I know it seems like nothing, but it's noticeable. It's noticeably heavier. But it's not a heavy phone. It's noticeably lighter than the Pro Max. However, the deal is that the 15 Plus, 16 Plus, these phones are definitely trying to go for a lighter weight feel, but you get a dual camera up there, and those lenses are pretty nice looking. I do like how they kind of match the body, and it's just nice attention to detail. Apple logo right there. At the bottom, you do see USB-C, no SIM card tray available, loudspeakers there. On the right side, we do have ourselves a camera control button, power button up there. And once you get used to the camera control button, quite nice. I do like to have an action button. You could see volume rockers there, but no antenna there's kind of built into the body, so that's kind of nice. You see the lines right there, but that's on both phones. Up at the top, pretty much nothing. Generally, aluminum shell. This phone kind of feels about like the same in terms of quality, but it's a little bit thicker, a little bit heftier. Some might associate that with a little bit more premium. Personally, I think the sleeker, lighter S25 Edge is the nicer design. I feel like it's more modern, aesthetic, it's cleaner. The bezels look a little bit thinner than the iPhone 16 Plus, so I'd give the edge here to the Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus in overall design. Build quality is pretty similar amongst both of them though. Both of them are IP68 dust tight. Now, which one to pick in display? So with the Galaxy S25 Plus, you are looking at a 2K resolution display. So this thing actually does have 513 pixels per inch. You have to enable it because out of the box, it does come with the Full HD Plus. So yeah, a pretty nice resolution. Punch hole camera up there, and you do have different vivid modes, natural modes. Now this doesn't have the anti-reflective properties, but you can get a screen protector from Samsung to kind of mimic that if you want. You can also get anti-glare screen protectors for iPhones as well, so it's not like a major deal, but you can definitely do that. You do have eye comfort shield, extra dim modes, and different modes you can mess around to tweak the display, like vivid. You can go advanced, change RGB values, get it exactly where you want it. Ultra thin bezels here, nice weight. It just feels like a big phone screen and a manageable lighter weight package. with still pretty vivid colors. Not quite as, I would say it doesn't look quite as saturated as some of the older Super AMOLED displays on this dynamic AMOLED. They're going for a more, they still have vividness, but they're going for a little bit more accuracy as well these days. But it does peak out at 2600 in its brightness, so it is brighter than that of the iPhone 16 Plus, so that's going to be a win here. And it's also the 19:9 aspect ratio, so definitely giving you a nice width when you are consuming content such as news or reading a book on here. You'll definitely really enjoy the size of this. So reading this content on here is going to be a really nice experience, easy to hold, flat edges, comfortable with a large, crisp display. So I do have to say this is probably going to be the winner to me. This also does have always on display and the ability to tweak its extra brightness. So if I go to settings, I go over here, you can turn on its max brightness whenever you want. So that's pretty cool. Also, you do have always on display, which is something you'll have to go to the 16 Pro series to get over here on the iPhone, which they don't have it here on the 16 Plus, which is pretty lame. But to give this one its fair props, I do think that while this is 60 Hertz, that's a big knock on this phone. It does have really nice colors. It also, the True Tone feature is nice on here. And even though this is less pixels per inch, like it's a less sharp technical display, it looks very clear. Like I like the font on the iPhone experience. Overall, it's a nice wide panel to consume content. The polished iOS gives you plenty of nice content to read on here. You can use Apple News and stuff of that sort. Just kind of doesn't feel any different than like 15 Plus or even 14 Pro Max kind of display. It's just about the same. HDR10 2000 nits, and the S25 Plus is HDR10 Plus, but definitely a little bit less resolution and same size with less screen to body, so thicker bezels. Generally, I do think that you are winning on either phone, but this one is a little bit of a lesser display to my eye between these two. But it's only very small differences. They're pretty close. So the main one is if you really care about 120 Hertz, you won't want a 16 Plus. But other than that, they're pretty close. Now, when it comes to biometrics, you do have a in-display fingerprint sensor on the Galaxy S25 Plus and a face unlock, although they're not doing it through an infrared sensor or anything like that. So essentially, getting into the phone is going to be mostly done securely through the in-display fingerprint, which I find faster and pretty useful, pretty modern feeling as well for the Galaxy S25 Plus. However, Face ID still holds as one of the cooler features in smartphones for a lot of people. So you have it up there in Dynamic Island. And both of them do have like a now. This one has a now bar where you'll get notifications in this little bar down here, like this little now brief. It'll come up here kind of like a Dynamic Island. So they have that now on here. This one will get timers and things of that sort in there. So unlocking the 16 Plus is going to be just like other Pro models with the Face ID. And then over here, you will be doing it through ultrasonic. That's kind of like really personal preference. I don't feel like either is better than other. It just depends on which one you want to use more. But you definitely do have that advantage of having two ways to unlock with the S25 Plus. Now, when it comes to performance, generally, you're going to find faster animations. You're going to find a snappier feel on the Galaxy S25 Plus with a little bit smoother looking display. So with that 120 Hertz, it will be quite noticeable in that respect. However, general speed of operating these two phones day to day, neither is going to slow you down. In 2025, they're both the latest phones out there. So you can do all of your daily tasks you'll need on either. I also do think while it's not really my preference to have the 16 Plus having a 60 Hertz panel, I still think that you get used to it after a couple of days. And as long as you're not comparing side by side or looking at YouTube tech comparisons like this one, you probably won't see it too much. So it's not like the end of the world. But definitely, even people who don't really care about tech specs are starting to notice, like, come on, Apple, let's put 120 Hertz. Every phone has it. I don't care about specs that much, but let's put some 120 Hertz on here. So that is the only thing in performance that really holds the iPhone back a little bit. But when we look at GPUs, this also has a lesser GPU than what's going on there? This is also having a lesser GPU than the 16 Pro Max. So this one will actually have not better gaming, and it's also not the A18 Pro chip, it's the A18. This is going to be the 8 Elite for Galaxy, just like the Ultra. So this is a good value. You get the same chip in here, and you also get the same 12 gigabytes of RAM. Also, you can do those multitasking features, whereas you'll be single tasking here with the Galaxy or with the iPhone 16 Plus. You can also use Good Lock and change the app switcher layout like I have it right there if you want. So pretty nice, but I will say performance-wise, the Samsung feels faster. It just does. Now, Samsung also has the larger battery, but that doesn't mean it's always better. I do find it to drain a little faster with standby time. Not significantly so, but this one does have a larger battery. I'm going to go ahead and put on dark mode so we could see this a little bit better here for this area of the video. But definitely, what's going on? Why do I keep doing that? Anyway, definitely the Samsung definitely has a little bit better runtime as well. We're looking at about, but I found that the Samsung actually doesn't have the better runtime here. I find that I can get a couple more hours of battery life on the 16 Plus. I don't know if that's down to the 60 hertz, because if you go to, the way I use it is with the 120 hertz. If you go here to the adaptive refresh, it will tell you literally that if you're running in the adaptive motion, the standard motion, you're gonna get longer battery life. But I notice that when I'm usually never gonna be in standard mode, whereas the 16 Plus is always in standard mode. So I found it to just last longer. That's probably the reason though. Okay, either that's a bug or that's me. Like, it keeps happening. Is that me? Am I not flicking this right? What's going on with that? Let's try that again. Okay, it's probably me. Yeah, I'm probably not doing the swipe correctly. Look at this guy. Master your technology. Can't even master the quick control. Anyway, let's move on. So anyway, we'll go over here to settings. And actually not settings. We're going to talk about the cameras here. So let's talk about the cameras. Now with the Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus, here's who should pick this one. Like, honestly, just pick this Samsung right here if you want more zooming, if you want more features in the camera. Like, you'll want this one. Also, I would say if you like a softer photo, if you like a less like ultra, like, I don't know, the iPhone tends to me to look a little very detailed. So if you like a softer look and you want to edit it yourself after, I think the Samsung's better. Also, if you like a higher resolution front facing camera and rear camera, you'll probably like this more. And you want to mess around with things like log and a little bit more, I would say, in granular control of your camera, you'll want the Samsung here. Also, it brings the features down and all the settings are in camera itself. Generally, it has that same like conclusion I've had before with iPhones. iPhones do a little bit better in the video, just kind of pull it out, point and shoot. Photo, this one is pretty good because it crops in for 10 times, but it still gets a little bit noisy, as you can see there. It gets noisy on the 10X, so it's still digital. 2X is acceptable, but what I do like is that at least the 16 Plus gives you a fair amount of zoom. If we go over here to the video, iPhone video still looks fantastic here. It's one of the good things about this phone. In addition, though, this doesn't really do too much more than that. Like, it's a standard iPhone camera. It doesn't really feel greatly better than like the 15 Plus. So this is a good camera setup, but it's not over the top. It's pretty consumer grade to me. Does everything the consumer would want, but it's not going to go like a little bit more. I think the S25 Plus goes a little bit beyond that. It gets close to the Ultra, but with a lesser sensor. So I feel like camera value is better on the S25 Plus, but the actual quality and performance, you might like better for social media on the 16 Plus. Now I want to talk about connectivity. Now when it comes to the reception, I do find the Samsung to have better reception strength than this phone. In addition, it does have a USB-C 3.2 down here for the connectivity and DeX support on this phone. So you will be able to plug this in for DeX. And then this one over here does have a USB-C, but it's only 2.0. It does have display out so you can put it on a monitor, but it's just going to show the iPhone screen. That's all it's going to do. Emergency SOS is available on these devices, but a little bit better on the iPhone. Satellite messaging on the iPhone. Circle to search over here though on the Galaxy over here, so you can circle to search anything you want, which is pretty cool. And then we go into settings here. Useful Galaxy AI features. While the iPhone does give you Apple Intelligence, which I do think they're going to improve with their language models this year, but right now it's kind of beta. And it doesn't feel that useful. And the Siri, while it looks cool, it doesn't really match up to the Gemini on the key over here, which is a lot smarter than the Siri over here. So it's useful, some things on the iPhone, but the Samsung Android side just feels smarter right now. Let's just put it that way. You do have Image Playground though, which can be fun to mess around with, but to me it's kind of like a gimmick. It's like a toy to play with right now, on the phone. It's not game changing right now, in my honest opinion, with that one. But they can both support AI chat bots like ChatGPT and things of that sort. So both of them are powerful enough for stuff like that. So that's what a lot of people are using anyway when it comes to AI models. So they can both do that. But the on-device stuff, the Samsung definitely wins in that department. Samsung also has one thing over the 16 Plus too. It has a vapor chamber, which makes it better with heat management, even under heavier use cases. But again, the battery didn't last as long in my opinion. So definitely that kind of negates that a little bit. But if you want better performance, it's going to be here. It also charges slightly faster, but not significantly like a OnePlus phone does. It charges maybe half an hour quicker, 25 minutes to half an hour quicker, but not like substantially faster. So keep that in mind between the two. I will say they were basically neck and neck when it comes to the speakerphone performance. I didn't hear any real difference. They were both right around the same decibels, and they're about the same under my audio testing I was doing on these two phones. Barely could hear a difference. So if you're looking for a better speakerphone, neither really is going to outshine the other too much significantly there. So I want to wrap it up here with my day-to-day thoughts about these two. If you were doing some research deciding, I don't know if I want the S25 Plus or if I want the 15 or the 16 Plus. I almost called that because it looks the same on the front. The 16 Plus is for the Apple user who wants all of the Apple's goodness, but they don't want to pay the high Apple price of a 16 Pro Max. So this is going to be a solid option, but I feel like there's a lot of sacrifices with this side though. Like you get less camera than the 16 Pro Max. You don't get the 120 hertz panel. You don't get the Pro chip. So it feels like a lesser phone. Now with the Galaxy S25 Plus, I feel like, yes, the Ultra has the S Pen and a 200 megapixel camera, but I feel like Samsung makes smarter cuts to this phone. They make the sensor a little bit less high megapixel, but it doesn't really change it super much. They have the same chip, exact same RAM. That one does have the same RAM as well, but it just feels like I'm not sacrificing as much from the Ultra to the S25 Plus versus the iPhone. I feel like I'm sacrificing more for still a high price. At the end of the day, I personally think Samsung S25 Plus is a better value pick here between these two. That's my personal take. However, if you don't like the Samsung experience or you don't want to go over there to that software, I would recommend waiting to see what the Air brings, the replacement to this phone, because I think it's going to be a stunner actually. They might even take the single camera and just crop it on that single camera so you can still get your zoom like you get on this phone. It's going to be a lot thinner than this phone, a lot lighter, and probably have better battery life. We'll have to see. That's going to be a wild card though, because they are going super thin. But yeah, that 16 Plus is still a great option if you want all the Apple goodness at a lesser price. And this teal color, man, this is a stunning color. I really do like it. I don't know if I like it more than the ultramarine, but it's still a really nice color. That's why I picked this one up. It's pretty unique looking actually. Anyway, that's my take on these two. Which one are you going to go with, the S25 Plus or the 16 Plus? Let us know down below in the comments. If you do have one of these devices, share your experience with the community, help people out to make their decision as well. And I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well and peace.